Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm still in the D. I'm coming home today. Hey, hey, I am up live on Facebook. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Thank you so much for asking. I know you're like, this is bizarre. I with this show, you're gonna find out how to work a lot of things. Uh huh. Yeah. You keep me on the whole time, and what I do is I then when my guests are speaking, I hit the speaker on my phone and I hold it to my iPad. Okay. Okay. So if you can bring him up right now, that would be great. Okay. I'm putting you on speaker right now because I'm doing something else. Okay. Thank you. Here's the latest Chicago weather update. Winter weather advisory is in effect here in the forecast area. Here's the snow showers to report today. Miss Jackson, we have Pastor Thurston up. Okay, I'm coming right back to the phone. Just give me a moment. Okay. Okay, let's go for it. Um, hey, 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 Pastor Thurston, how are you? Thank you. Pastor Thurston? Okay, now I can. Now I want to make sure that my morning stars can hear you. Everybody, let me know if you can hear Pastor Thurston. If you can bring him up. Keep. Testing. Okay, can you all hear Pastor Thurston? Pastor Thurston, maybe do the Lord's Prayer, something continuous, or A, B, C, D, E. A, B, C, D, E, F, H. I got him. We're good to go. Okay, and you can hear it? Yep, I have you both. Thank you, my gem. It was my pleasure. Okay. All right, I added 2 minutes, so we will be going on at 6:07:55. Okay, let me do this. I gotta, because I put the time on here so I can keep time. Pastor Thurston, would you mind sitting with me for a hot second? Because Dr. Knighton is not there. I got a flight to get there. Oh. Well, look, no worries. But thank you for making the time for us today. Yes, ma'am. And enjoy yourself. Hello. I'm headed back home, so all my enjoyment has been done. Oh, really? Oh, I thought you were headed. I'm heading to New York. So, whew. Yes, my home, other home. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I can't wait. Woo-hoo. I mean, I just, that's my other home. I don't know. And that was what, yeah, well, if you can, and it certainly is mine. It certainly is mine. But thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, good.
We have 2 minutes.
Great. Let me drink a little bit of water here. Oh, we ran by Reverend Kinlock's church and then Pastor Winans' church on Sunday.
Yes, I saw some pictures.
Oh, right. Had a lovely time. And ate like crazy at Pastor Winans' church. Ooh. First, my father wasn't going to eat. Honey, and then he couldn't stop. I said, you don't even know what you have asked him to do. He said, no. He said, there's some more fish back there. You know, bring the fish out. Oh, okay, no, bring some more rolls out. Put my mama on the phone. So it was great. It was great speaking with with Mama Winans. So it was, they're a lovely family. It's always so good to see them. He's about to move to another church.
Okay.
He built a church. I'm glad to hear about that.
30 seconds.
All right, here we go, everybody. And this is November 15th. Thank you for reminding me, my little gem. Because I get my dates twisted up. All right, everybody.
Yeah, the other day.
Oh, honey, I do it all the time. I'm like, oh, well, I jump ahead of myself. So, okay, everybody. I'm like, really? Is that what this is? No, okay.
All right, stand by.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It is Tuesday, November 15th, 2020. It's a joy to be with you today. Looking forward to having a great show as we talk about President Trump. Former President Trump. We're opening up the phone lines. It seems that he might be giving a presidential announcement today. He might kick off 2024 for us today. What do you think about that, everybody? What do you think? Did the midterms hurt him, help him, or did it just kind of keep him steady? Remember these, as we talked about this yesterday, but I want to drill down on this today because I didn't realize that the announcement was like right here. These margins that he lost by were razor thin. The margins that the Democrats won by were razor thin. We're still a country in many ways that are very divided, that we are that. And so I want to talk about that. I mean, did the midterms do him in? That's a simple question. So call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. I want you to meet me here on WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, and meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. The Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Carol, Michael Ann, Linear Bob, Robert, Andre, Carol, everybody, please, Rhonda, Mrs. Zenobia, Mark out there in D.C., and Jean. You all, please like and share the show. Like and share the show. Please do that right now. Joyce, like and share. Dave Dowling, like and share. Gary Craig. Hey, y'all. How you doing this morning? And Sharon, call us. I want to hear what your thoughts are. Do you think the doom and gloom that we're hearing about President Trump, former President Trump, do you think that's accurate? I mean, think about it, because he does internal polling as well. That's part of the reason that he was able to do so well in 2016, because he had a tremendous operation in the social media world, and I would say just in political intelligence. So what do you think? I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. I want to hear from you right now. Call me at 773-763-WCPT. Let's talk about it. John Nichols will be on with us in the next hour talking about these House races. The path is very narrow, very narrow. Could the Democrats hold on? If not, what will it look like for the Republicans to control, well, to have the majority in the House by a vote or two? How will the politics of the Speaker and of the House be shaped? Will the Speaker, who would be Republican, would they have to lean toward the will of a Marjorie Taylor Greene, of the MAGA side of the Republican Party? You tell me. Or would they go toward the establishment? Think about those things. Think about that. We're going to be talking with John Nichols about that. But we're talking about former President Trump, who's going to make some kind of announcement at Mar-a-Lago today. Did the midterms do him in? Or did they not? 773-763 WCPT. All right, I think the winter is upon us, everybody. Can you believe Thanksgiving is next week? Well, in Chicago, it's gonna be 40 degrees. That will be the high. Rain and snow. Whew. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 33 degrees, pure snow. In the NFL, the Commanders 32, the Eagles 21. They got through the season pretty well. They still have the best record in the NFL. NBA, the Timberwolves and the Bulls will be off tonight, and they'll be picking back up tomorrow night. In the NHL, the Wild will be playing the Predators, and the Hurricanes shut out Chicago 3-0. Everybody, what are some of the headlines from CNN? Well, we are looking at President Trump and his announcement. What will he do? Will he run for president? Will he say that he's running for president? According to one of his advisors familiar with this matter, he will announce that he will run for president. What will that do to the race? What will that do to the race on the Republican and the Democratic side? Many Republicans have expressed opposition. Many have not. Many would not dare. In a newly released interview, former Vice President Mike Pence also distanced himself from his former boss, saying he thinks, quote, we'll have better choices in the future, close quote. What do you think about that? Call me at 773-763 WCPT. In one of the most closely watched midterm races, Democrat Katie Hobbs held on and will become Arizona's next governor. Maybe that was Freudian, I don't know. She will defeat one of the most prominent defenders of former President Trump's, let's say, his stories about the 2020 election. Her challenger, Republican Kari Lake, who's been an independent, who's been a Democrat, now she's a Republican again, had repeatedly said that she would not have certified President Joe Biden's win in Arizona in 2020 and began sowing doubts about the governor's race before it was called. She projected victory, and it didn't happen. Hobbs has been projected as the victor in this race, and it's a major win for the Democrats. I want you to call me and tell me what you think about all this, everybody. Democrats are winning, albeit by razor-thin margins. A win is a win is a win is a win. Arizona is among 4 states that have flipped control of governorships. Arizona, Maryland, which also made history by electing the first Black governor, Wes Moore, and Massachusetts for Democrats. Nevada is still in the Republican column. Sadly, classes at UVA remain canceled today as the school continues to work through the emotional toll, as school officials have put it, of Sunday's shooting that left 3 football players dead and 2 other people injured. The alleged 22-year-old gunman was arrested Monday about 80 miles east of Charlottesville, Virginia. Police have not yet shared a motive for the attack. The 3 football players who died, who were killed in the shooting, have been identified, including one junior who was a top wide receiver for the school this season. Breaks my heart for the Cavaliers in a special way. My baby brother played football at that school back in the late 80s, early 90s. God bless the UVA family. Several airlines have been forced to pay more than $600 million in refunds to passengers for canceled or changed flights since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, according to the Department of Transportation. The department is also issuing more than $7 million in fines against 6 airlines for the extreme delays in providing those refunds to passengers. COVID-19 boosters. Health officials say they're planning to push this week for people to get boosted against COVID-19 in order to offer maximum protection around Thanksgiving. But overall uptake remains low. Just 10% of people ages 5 or older have received an updated booster, despite 73% of that population having gotten their first 2 shots, according to the CDC. Additionally, a new study published Monday said higher COVID-19 vaccination rates among U.S. children could prevent thousands of pediatric hospitalizations and millions of missed school days, and yet people are not getting the boosters. What do you think about that, everybody? What do you think about that? President Vladimir Zelensky presented a 10-point peace plan to end Russia's invasion of Ukraine in a video speech to the G20 lawyers today. And those are some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. But right now, we've got the good news from Pastor Stephen Thurston, teaching pastor of the Salem Baptist Church at the House of Hope. But he is also, of course, scion of New Covenant. We love the Meeks and my family. You know, we go all the way back with the Thurstons and go back quite a piece with Pastor Meeks. You know, Pastor Meeks would be working in the kitchen at Shiloh. And we used to have our Saturday morning meetings there. Had no idea. You never know who you're going to bump into. He was working in the kitchen when he was a very, very, I think he was a teenager. Unbelievable while we were having the Saturday morning meetings upstairs. Pastor Gordon Humphrey was so generous in giving Push a home as we were really trying to grow and develop as an organization. Much love to the Humphrey family, but much love to you. What is the good news as you're about to jump on this plane and get back to Chicago today?
Hey, Santita. Hey, family that's listening in. The good news is that today's the day that you're going to stop second guessing yourself. I recently received an email from a member, and it stated this: I struggle with making decisions and always second guess myself. I recently had to make a decision about something, and after giving it a lot of thought, I decided. Now, months later, my decision is eating me up, and I can't stop thinking I made the wrong decision. So I guess my point is, once you decide, how do you stop yourself from second guessing? I'm so glad that this member sent me this email, because I'm sure that somebody listening is posing or has posed the same question, at least in their mind. You've been there before, having made a decision, and you not only second guessed it, but maybe you even moved to a place where you wish you hadn't made that decision, and it was too late now. You couldn't take it back. Well, listen, when we make any decision, for better or for worse, we affect change, and sometimes it's scary to be responsible for the change that we, in fact, affect. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, we never know where our decisions will lead us. And we can't know before making them what the aftermath just might be. But only after making the decision can we then deal with what comes next. I've got a pilot friend, and he recently helped me to gain a fresh perspective on this whole decision-making process. And my tendency even to second guess decisions that I make. This is what he said to me, and I hope it blesses you and helps you. He said, Stephen, do you know how I get from one destination to the next in my aircraft? He said, I set a course to the destination before I take off. And then, once I'm in the air, I engage in course correcting along the way. And likewise, we do the same thing in life. Listen, there's no such thing as a bad decision when you look at it from the framework that the pilot painted for me. Because we're just constantly, as we're moving towards our destination, course correcting. That's all we're doing as we navigate life. We make a plan, we set where we want to be, and things don't always go the way that we hope or expect. Decisions that we always make don't always turn out the way that we expect. But along the way, what do? We simply engage in course correcting. And listen, that's ultimately how we grow. Taking from what we have learned, from what the past has presented to us, and building on it for our future. Now, that being said, I know you want to know now, you want to know next. Stephen, how can I help this process to unfold more smoothly for me? I get it. I need to make my decision, stick with my decision, and then just course correct along the way. But Stephen, I get my head sometimes, and that can be difficult. What can I do to stop the process of second guessing? Great question. Glad you asked. Let me give you a few steps and points to implement into your process into your life. Number one, I got to get you to trust yourself. Making a decision sometimes forces you to grow in areas where you're not comfortable. And when you second guess yourself, it's usually because of that discomfort. But it's important to remember that change happens incrementally. So even if you're not seeing an obvious positive result yet, it just might be coming. Number two, I want you to choose a new thought. Yep, choose a new thought. Stop entertaining the idea of having made a wrong decision. There's no power in that. Instead, know that things are working out for your good and that you're learning and growing while you find your bearings and while you continue to course correct in life. Number three, assess what you're learning. Because we're always in a state of flux, there may very well be things you will do differently the next time. So ask yourself, if I had to do it over, what would I do differently? And then congratulate yourself, because this is how new behavior is actually born. Number four, get comfortable with mistakes. Hey, we all make them. Nobody's perfect. There's something called grace that we all could do a better job at extending toward ourselves. And time, it gives us an opportunity to fix all sorts of things that we think maybe we screwed up. The reality is that there's power in simply letting things go and deciding to reevaluate them at a future date. This gets to finally, go easy on yourself. Life is a hard hat zone. We're always under construction. And you're not where you were yesterday, and you are not who you will be tomorrow. We're always in a state of evolution. So you got to make some peace with that. Life is full of second chances. But to get to the second chance, you got to first take a chance. And so today's your day to stop second guessing yourself, make your decision, course correct along the way. And I promise you, you're going to get to the destination that you desire to be in.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for blessing us today. I know you're catching this plane, but that is what we needed today because many of us are too afraid to live. That's why I think I love the movie Mame, particularly the well, I love both versions with Lucille Ball and with Rosalind Russell. But my favorite is Rosalind Russell. But what I love about the story is that, she said, most poor suckers are too afraid to live. So every time there was a new scene, you saw Mame her apartment had a different theme. She was wearing different clothes. She had different friends, and then she would keep it moving. And I think that that's what we need to do. Keep on, as you all can see, I have a different hairstyle. You know what? I didn't realize that even though I've been told that the other style was what complimented me, and I still love it, and I'm going to pull my hair back from time to time. But it was time for me to make a change and not be afraid of it. Just make a change. And then, you know what? If you don't like it, go back. Although I've cut the front of my hair, so it's, I'll have to use a lot of gel. But even then, just go back. I mean, you or go someplace else, but go and course correct because you know what you can get on your GPS, and I don't even drive, and it'll tell you to go one way, and then you think of something else, and it continues to course correct until it gets you to where you need to go. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
It just keeps correcting for you. It just keeps intentionally directing you the path that you need to go to get to the destination you determined you want to be.
No, do you think God does that?
Listen, He gives us grace all day, every day.
Amen.
Chance after chance.
Amen.
And we can extend that same grace to ourselves.
Amen. We keep getting the opportunity to course correct. So get out there and live today, everybody. You've hit a nerve with people in a good way. Daryl and Jean and Joyce and Carol and all of you. That's right. Get out there and live, 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 live. Sending you much love, Pastor. Cannot wait to see you when you get back home. Hey. I love you. I love you. But travel safely. Travel safely. Everybody, I want you to call me at 773-763. 9278 773 763 WCPT. Let's talk about former President Trump. He, according to people close to him, sources close to him, now you know he could change his mind because he's just that kind of guy. Kind of goes, has his own internal mechanism going on inside of him. And most people like that really function like that. Well, he might be announcing today from Mar-a-Lago that he is going to be running for president again. Why Mar-a-Lago? Maybe because that's where the FBI raided his house. I don't know. But I want to know what your thoughts are. Do you think that the midterms did him in? There were razor thin margins, and I've seen the headlines. You have too. And all of the morning shows are going on the gas, except for one particular network, of how badly Trump did and how this is the end of him and how there is a new media darling, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida. But that's the key. He's a media darling. But is he the darling of the voters? Think about that. Think about that. The media can make you into whatever it is that they want you to be. That's what they do. But he caught fire in Florida, but what about the rest of the nation? What about these razor thin margins? We are several days out from the primary because we're still waiting and we're still waiting on the results because the margins were tight. Americans still um, either sign up for him or sign up for an agenda that the Democrats do not support, or maybe they just, but there's also so much mistrust in authorities. I don't even know if they don't support Democrats and Democrats' plans as much as these folks don't support anybody. And I mean on the left and the right. There's a lot of mistrust. So let's talk about this today. Did the midterms do Trump in or not? Call me at 773 WCPT 773 I want to hear from you. I don't want to just hear these people talk about you. You know, I say that all the time, and it's true. I want to know what your thoughts are. What do you think is going to happen in Georgia? I hear you, Carolyn. I want to know what you think is going to happen in Georgia. Will Herschel Walker, uh, will he be able to win? Hmm. What do you think is happening in this election season? Boy, what a time to be an American. What a time to be alive. It is just absolutely crazy, on and cracking in the United States of America. But guess what? The whole world appears to be in an uproar. Maybe we're beginning to get things right. Growth is painful. Things hurt. It's darker before the dawn, darkest before the dawn. So here's to a new dawn as we walk through a very interesting period. Call me at 773 WCPT, 773 Did the midterms do Trump in or not? Back in just a minute. All right, everybody, how you doing? It is good to be with you today. Good, 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 good. And I want you to call me at 773. I'll put the number up. Okay, there it is. I want to know what your thoughts are. Do you think that Trump was done in by the midterms or not? Let me know what you think. Okay. Haven't you noticed a lot of people getting really sick lately? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. It's a lot. It is a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. So call me, you guys. Let me know what you think about Trump. I am Laura. I'm in Detroit. I'm at the Automotive Summit for Rainbow Push. There are and I'm going to tell you one of the things that I found out yesterday is that within the next very few years, everybody's going to have an electric car. Yeah, yeah. Everything is changing very, very rapidly. You're going to have an electric car. That will be a requirement, right? So get ready. It's a whole new world. And I'm learning about training programs where people make $150,000, $200,000 a year. Technically blue collar work, but number one, these people have the talent, the skill, and they're necessary. There's a new economy that is emerging, and we need to be a part of it. We need to be a part of it. So I've been learning a lot, and I'm going to bring some people back in the coming days to share with you what I learned. I was talking to a friend of mine, Damon Lester, who's the vice president of NAMAD, the National Association of Minority Auto Dealers, and it was created to advocate for Black auto dealers. Oh, decades ago, about 40 years ago. My father helped to found it. In fact, it was his idea. And then from there, it was expanded to include Hispanics and Asians and women and on and on and on and on. And that's a good thing.
Miss Jackson, we
Yes.
have 30 seconds left.
And who do we have?
We have Miss Wells and Attorney Patillo on. We are still working on the other guests.
Okay, perfect. Robert and I can go. Let me hear him now.
Okay, he's on.
Hey, Robert, I want to make sure my audience can hear you. How you doing, hon?
I'm great. How are you?
It's great hearing your voice. Great hearing your voice. Great hearing your voice. Always, always, always. Chapearl, how you doing?
Stand by.
Stand by. Coming in. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Let's talk today politics. That's right. In the next hour, we're going to have John Nichols talking to us about these House races. I mean, it looks like the Republicans might get it, then maybe they won't, but whatever is going to happen, it's going to be a razor thin margin. If the Republicans become the majority in the House, it'll be by like one seat or two. What will that look like? What part of the party will hold the power? Will Marjorie Taylor Greene hold the cards as Sinema and Manchin have done on the Democratic side? Either way, the corporatocracy is favored, not people. It's something for us to think about. Because even as I look at this Democratic, these wins, there's a lot of talk in corporate media that the suburban moms have won, that moderation is won. We've gone back to normal. Do you really want to go back to normal? 1 in 4 Americans in this new normal in America will not have Thanksgiving next week because they cannot afford it. Most Americans cannot afford to go to the emergency room. Most Americans, if you get sick, you are driven into bankruptcy by your medical bills. Is that what we want? I mean, think about that. It doesn't have to be this way at all. And until we decide that things must change, things will remain as they are, or is it called normal? So let's talk about former President Trump. I want you to call me at 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278. Let me know what you think. Did the midterms do him in, or should we have another reading of this, given the razor-thin margins by which Democrats won? Well, let's talk about it here on the Santita Jackson Show. But first, Thanksgiving is next week, where we are in the throes of the holy season. You know, I'm the Christmas girl, everybody. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm going to get some vittles from Celebrations by Us. Chaparral Wells, how you doing?
Good morning, Santita. Thank you so much. We are up and cranking out these pre-holiday orders. We have a lot this week, but we are still accepting orders until Friday. So give us a call at 708-526-4546. 708-526-4546. Whether you need your turkey, your dressing, your mac and cheese, your greens or your green beans. Let's not forget our sweets, our sweet potato pie, our peach cobbler, our banana pudding, our caramel cake, our red velvet cake, and German chocolate cake. Don't hesitate to call us at 708-526-4546. 708-526-4546. We look forward to serving you. Thank you so much, Santita.
You are more than welcome. Everybody call us at 773-763-WCPT. What about former President Trump? Today it is, he's supposed to make his announcement, his presidential announcement. And even as many people are writing his epitaph, his political epitaph. But is he politically done? What do you think, everybody? I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, particularly when you look at these razor-thin margins. Hey, it's a win. I get it, and I'll take it. That having been said, we had razor-thin margins in the Senate over the past couple of years, and look at what happened. You had Senators Sinema and Manchin dragging Democratic politics to the right, holding progressive reforms hostage to right-wing and corporate concerns. Is that what's going to happen here? I mean, let's talk about it. I want to know, do you think that the story of the demise of Trump, is it premature or is it spot on? Is he done or is he coming back for yet another act? I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. Robert Patillo, what say you? I know you've got some thoughts about this because these margins, Robert, they're razor thin. I mean, I think, we're acting as if there was a landslide and hey, it's a win. Like I said, I'll take it, Robert, but wow. I think there's a lot more going on here. And what do you think?
Well, you're absolutely correct on that. I think that we were doing a post-mortem on this, for probably the last week, trying to analyze exactly what happened in this election. And for the people who think that the mobster is dead, there's always a sequel. And let's understand, President Trump is still the biggest draw in the Republican Party. He very nearly, I wasn't very nearly, I mean by margins of, if you look at the Arizona races, for example, sometimes under 20,000 votes, very nearly took over the entire country twice. Let's be real, he very nearly won in 2020 with a majority. He very nearly took over the Senate and the House this election cycle. And through a series of very, very close elections, his people were kept out of power. Think about January 6th. Where nationwide, it really was, a half dozen people that kept the democracy together. Mike Pence, the Secretary of State of Georgia, the Secretary of State up in Michigan, a few other people. It's like a half dozen people kept us from falling into fascism and autocracy. So for the people who are thinking that this movement is over, it's never over after the first time. We referenced before the Beer Hall Putsch in Germany in 1933. It's not like the Nazis stopped after that failed. They kept coming back until they won. We look at Mussolini. The first time we tried, he failed. They kept coming back until they won. And that goes throughout the last couple of centuries. So this idea that Trumpism somehow died after one midterm election is fanciful. People thought that after the first impeachment. People thought it after the second impeachment. People thought it after January 6th and so on and so forth. What Democrats have to figure out is how exactly do you stick together this coalition that you had in a way that is Trump-free? Because this can be argued, and people like Governor Larry Hogan, outgoing governor of Maryland, and other Republicans have argued that that Trump has cost them 3 elections at this point in time, and that without Trumpism, they will be a majority party. That test will be seen coming up soon. But the question is the Democrats still have not found a way to run against Republicans other than being the anti-Trump party. The last 2 years have been a complete indictment on Democrats being still focused on Trump as if he's still in office. Every late night show is still Trump-centric. Every policy is still Trump-centric. I think Democrats, if they really want to come out of this Trump era and start turning the page, well, we're going to have to get back to the place of bipartisan agreement in government. We talked about the House majority. That's not set in stone yet. Right now, it looks like the final count was probably going to be something like 219 for Republicans and 215 for Democrats. If Democrats can get 2 Republicans to caucus with them in the House of Representatives, can still take the House, and that actually happens far more often than you think. Think about Liz Cheney, who was a Republican and towards the end caucus with the Democrats, or Adam Kinzinger, who was a Republican and caucus with the Democrats in the Senate. We have a lot of independents, for example. So it's not a fait accompli yet that they've taken over the House of Representatives. But I think Democrats are going to need to use this time where they have control of the Senate, where they will have a strong voice in the House, to pass some real legislation, not executive orders, not gridlock, not making a good college try things, but getting things done for the American people. That is what will actually start bringing it close to the Trump era, because once we realize we can still move along and actually have budgets again, actually have bills that aren't a party line vote, actually be able to get people nominated and confirmed without dragging them through the mud and making up things to besmirch their character, etc. I think that's how you start putting it into the Trump era. But right now, this idea that he's just going to slowly fade into the darkness is fanciful. He did the thing that Obama never did, which was create coattails. There's an entire generation of Trumps around the country. Every state and actually every jurisdiction, for the most part, has a Trumpian candidate who felt empowered by him, who felt who go towards his political messaging, and we haven't seen that on the Democratic side of the aisle. So if they actually want to stop Trump and Trumpism, they're going to have to get some stuff done for the American people.
Well, we haven't seen it on the Democratic side of the aisle since Reverend Jackson, who said in 1983, "When I win, you win." You saw coattails. You saw Cleo Fields. You saw everybody, including Obama. They were on the Jackson coattails. You've seen Bernie Sanders. You see his coattails. You see Jonathan Jackson and Delia Ramirez going to Congress, and so many people all around the country. The Democrats have to get a clue. They have to get a clue. But Robert said to you, before I go to attorneys Jones and Yeary, this. He said the Trump base has dwindled down to 30%. Robert Patillo, what say you, Robert, to Robert Williams? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. We could not hear you. Now we can. Now we can hear you. He said that the Trump base has dwindled down to 30%.
Yeah, I don't think the Trump base has dwindled at all. I think he's opened up American politics to people who were completely uninterested previously. And I grew up in a trailer park in Harris County, Georgia. And those people generally are not the most interested in politics because they feel like both parties have forgotten them. Donald Trump was the first person to make those people feel seen, make them feel heard, make them feel understood. And many of them who started running for office are becoming politically involved. For better or for worse, those people are now involved in American politics. I don't see them turning around and going the other way. So for Democrats, they're going to have to start working towards expanding out their electorate. So Donald Trump is going to be motivating people in rural America, people at the bottom of the economy who feel that America has forgotten them. Well, then at that same time, Democrats are going to have to start going to those African-American communities or disenfranchised and actually doing something for them, not just talking to them, not just having a fish fry and having some celebrities come out and do the Dougie and the thank you leg for them. Pass some policy. Those poor people don't actually want to be poor, so pass some policies to help them not do so. And I think that by expanding out that electorate, that's the way you counter Trumpism. When you have a populist movement, and it doesn't just fade away, it may morph, it's probably even outside of the control of Trump at this point, but Trumpism is going to be able to stay.
Everybody, what do you think? Call us at 773-763 WCPT 773-763-9278. Tonight, prime time. Former President Trump is supposed to be making an announcement. Most people believe, particularly those who are close to him, they are reporting, or at least they're leaking, that he's going to announce that he's going to run for president again. What do you think about that? Attorney Darrell Jones, chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Did the midterms do Trump in? Yes, no, maybe? I mean, what do you think happened here?
Yeah, good morning, Santita. Yeah, no, I don't think that the midterms has done Trump in. Let's remember, certainly a couple of things. I think that it did injure him. I think that it did have some impact on him. But the Trump effect, I think, is still there. And I don't think the measure necessarily is with the elected people and the members of Congress that, some of which are showing some disconnection from him at this point in time. I think one of the things that Robert sort of was touching on was that when you start looking at the people who are the ones that are doing the electing, right, the voters that are impacting the Republican Party, I'm not certain that they have kicked Donald Trump to the curb at this point in time. I'm not certain that the argument is going to be, and we'll hear a lot of it coming up in the next week or so, probably from the former President Trump after he makes his announcement today or tonight, whenever it is, that he's going to fault the candidates, not the policy. The candidates, not the philosophy. He's going to continue to try to tap into that divide that we have in the United States with regards to race and all the other biases that he has so strongly tapped into previously. So I think that what you're going to see and what we're going to experience is a lot more of that, and probably even more so. Just trying to say that they weren't far enough to the right was the problem with the people that lost, and these are why they were weak candidates. It's going to be interesting to see if that fails and how the American people respond to it, because we do know, when we look at the numbers and we look at the results, that the Freedom Caucus did not make as much progress as the Progressive Caucus. Mm-hmm. And what does that say with regards to where the American people are? Are we now weary of that Trumpism, divided, nasty, mean-spirited politics, or are we someplace else? And one of the questions that we were have been asking, in our panel discussions here, is where do people fall on the economic side of this? On the economic side of where we are as a country, are we in such a place that we believe that we are willing to deal with the negativism, the division as a country, if we believe we can somehow have a presidential candidate that is just completely focused on economics, and somehow Trump has this belief and can sell the Republican Party and can sell America, that he could, this sounds familiar, right? That he alone can make it so that gas prices aren't increasing, that the expenses for the food on the table are going to come down. That, I think, is going to be one of the real tests here, as whether that company is coming to a close, is whether or not he can sell his products, and the American people are willing to buy the product, saying that he, in fact, can save the American people. He, in fact, can change this economy once again to a place where people feel more comfortable with the money that they should have and will have in their pocket if they elect him. That, I think, is going to be the real test here, and whether or not we have moved as a country away from that, and we're now really focused more on the healing process, which is what Joe Biden ran on, right? With the healing process, of calming us all down, and having, I think, the statement that he used when President Biden was running before, the adult in the room, back in control of situations and making measured decisions. I think that's where we are. And, it's going to be interesting to see, how we now start responding. That's really my take on where we are right now.
Well, I think until we deal with the anger that drove this, we're going to miss that. We're missing the anger that drove Bernie Sanders' candidacy or the supporters, the people who supported it. We're missing the anger that drove Trump's candidacy, and many people toggle between Bernie Sanders and President and then Citizen Trump. And we have to look at that. The economy collapsed in 2008, and then Wall Street tried to hold us up for more money to save it. We gave them more than $20 trillion, and that has not been answered. That has not been spoken to. And until we do that, this is not going to stop. You have Trump, you got Trumpism, but you have American anger. That's what we have got. We have not had this kind of result in a midterm since, the Great Depression. Hello? Somebody get a clue. Pastor Todd Yeary, Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary, Esquire, your thoughts?
Well, good morning, Santita. Good morning to your guest. I'm listening to attorneys Patillo and Jones. I think there are a couple of pieces that we have to be clear about. Trumpism, if it is about who has the Trump style of candidacy, that is not something that can be replicated. That's Donald Trump himself. Well, the issue really becomes who holding on to his coattails can advance what really this came down to. I don't think it came down to Republicans holding their nose and not voting for Trump's candidates. They did by and large. This really comes down to where the Democratic Party finds its challenge as well. Who's at the center? Who are those unaffiliated voters, and how do you speak to the policy issues that are going to get them off the fence one side or the other to be able to engage in the outcome? So I think this is less about whether or not the base of the Republican Party is still going to go with Donald Trump until somebody else takes his place, right? It's like playing King of the Hill as kids. The King of the Hill is still King of the Hill until somebody knocks him off the hill. That has not occurred yet. I do think that the base that's really concerned about Trump coming back is really the Republican establishment.
Absolutely.
Republicans as we have known them.
I agree.
Donald Trump. I think they are holding their breath, hoping that he won't do it, because they know that if the Democratic Party is really paying attention, the one thing that's kept them off the bubble is they have been able to tie Donald Trump around the establishment Republicans' neck and make them fight with him publicly, so that they can then go kind of piecemeal with what was supposed to be an aggressive agenda for the nation. So I think the thing that we have to watch tonight, the announcement is going to be, he's going to run. Mitch McConnell will likely set his hair on fire. He won't be able to tell who he is coming the morning. There will be a lot of folks, pay attention to the alcohol intake of those who are in the Congress, because they're going to have a lot of communion. They're going to take that bottle. Look, the text says, as often as you do it in remembrance of me. I don't know if they're going to remember you. They're going to do a lot of drinking. The question becomes, the question really becomes, how are they going to be prepared to govern? And this goes back to Robert's point, is that if you go in with a 3-vote majority, is the speaker going to be able, and that's McCarthy, and that's not even a given. I think you may even run into some challenges. Mm-hmm. It will be interesting to see how contentious the caucus is internally, while you've got Lindsey Graham begging, pleading with folks to support Herschel Walker, and they're talking about putting off the leadership vote until they see the outcome in that election, which is fine. You got to vote, because I don't think Manchin is a shoo-in to stay in the Democratic caucus if he thinks he can broker a better position with his seat coming up in 2024. There are a number of things that are going on that if you have a Herschel Walker victory in Georgia, God forbid, that's my personal political view, and you end up with this catering to Manchin on steroids, right? He was banned in the first 2 years. Imagine the 2 years leading up to this election, when he's got to go back to West Virginia and look his own base and his own voters in the face. If that then becomes the dance you have to do, that's what's going to hold the advancement of the Democratic Party's policy plan. Because while you have to make some concessions to get folks to your side in the House, you then have to make concessions to one who's supposed to be one of you or two of you. Cinemas on the ballot in 2024. in the presidential cycle at the same time. That's what I think Donald Trump is after. Here's where you're going to find out if Trumpism has legs, not with what happened in this election. Net, to some degree, they got what they wanted. They're going to get the gavel, likely, on the House side. Though they didn't have a red wave, they didn't see the backlash that you would have expected on the Senate side. And in 2024, the tables are turned because it's that cycle. There are 23 Democratic Senate seats that have to be defended. Unlike this time, when you had only a handful that they have to figure out, more than Trump has to figure out. The Democratic Party is the power, the party in power, the presidency. They got to figure out how are they going to advance the policy aims of this administration. Forget what Donald Trump said. He's not the president anymore. He's a curious, interesting political sideshow in many ways. What he's doing is he's mucking up what the Democratic Party wants to do. And this is going to be something to watch. Get your popcorn, lots of butter, your favorite salt. Hold on, because this is going to be a ride.
Oh, it's going to be a ride. I tell you what, if you have cancer, you do not need cold medicine. You need chemo. And I think that if we do not diagnose what happened in 2004, in 2008, as we have watched the student loan debt crisis explode on us, as we have watched the housing market collapse on us, as we've watched Wall Street privatize their wins and make public their losses. Americans are upset about that, and we should be. We should be upset about that. We should be angry about it. We should vote about it. Up in arms? No, I don't think, up in arms, but don't take arms. I believe in nonviolent resistance, and I believe in nonviolent change. I think that can happen. If we do not understand that, then we don't understand the rise of Bernie Sanders, who is the most popular elected official in the United States of America, who, according to many polls, is the person that everybody, right and left, wants to run and enter the race. Not Trump, not even Biden. You need to understand what's happening here. We want someone who's going to go to Washington and fight for us and go up against all of these establishments. And we've got to deal with that. This is not about a person. This is about principle. Americans cannot afford Thanksgiving next week, 25% of us, and those are those who admit it. Oh my goodness. Think about that, everybody. Think about going to the emergency room. Can you afford to get sick? No. That's not the way this is supposed to work. Think about that, everybody. Rodney Ellis, Commissioner Rodney Ellis from Texas Harris County, coming up, along with Attorney Mark Fancher. And then, of course, John Nichols at the bottom of the next hour. Let's talk about what former President Trump is going to do. What is he going to do? Run for president? Probably. And did the midterms take him out? What do you think? 773-763-9278. Back in just a minute. I love you guys. You all are so much fun. Ooh, love it. Kenosha, how you doing this morning?
Hey, thanks. You're doing well. Thank you. Cold here. Y'all check out Chicago cold.
Man, it is cold here in Detroit. I saw some snow coming up here, and guess what? It is cold. I said, oh, man. I'm glad so many of my coats are out now. I need them because I promise you, it is freezing. Well, Karen, I know a lot of people who would vote for Bernie Sanders. I do. And what do you mean? Look at his receipts. Why did you call in? You said you wouldn't dare vote for Bernie. You don't know anybody who would. I know a lot of people who would. And a lot of polls are showing that he is the person they would like to see at least enter the race. So it's just something for us to think about. Bottom line, you want someone who's going to go into Washington and fight for you. I mean, that's it. That's it. And I would like to see the Democrats tout more of Joe Biden's legislative victories. And we have to continue to push even harder.
We have Attorney Mark Fancher up.
Do you have Commissioner Ellis? I sent you a text.
Yes, we do.
Okay,
yep.
Thank you. Commissioner Ellis?
Good morning, my sister.
How are you? When are you coming to Chicago?
I'll get in on Friday, December the 2nd. I think that's a Friday, and I'll be there Friday, Saturday, at least.
Please call.
As cold as it is in Detroit, I make it out of there Saturday night, but I'm going to make sure I see wherever
we're gonna roll you into.
I'll stay on Saturday to see you.
We're gonna put one of my mother's fur coats on you. Which
I want to see your mother too, because I need to talk out of some of that art from Ghana. She could need all that art. It's like I need some of that art to help Jonathan decorate his office so he feel like he's at home.
Oh my God! Wait a minute, you won't be able to walk in the office then if it's like my mom's home, because my mother has turned that place into, I don't know. You can't walk in.
It's a museum.
Oh.
Museum. I would blame, and then she said like Lisa Green. My wife, I told my wife, she hoards all that stuff.
Oh.
Every conference, every goodie bag, every piece of art, she has stuff in the closet. Why is the art in the closet?
It's so crazy. I sit there and I'm like, Mom, are you serious right now? She is serious as a heart attack. She's like, oh, you don't know what this stuff is. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, she knows, she got a point, but
she has some beautiful stuff. She has great technique.
She really, and she's always been looking for stuff. She's a collector. I learned how to refinish furniture from my mom, because what they used to call antiques, well, they used to call it junk. Now they call them antiques. My mother said, we are too poor to buy anything new. So we would be refinishing armors and whatnot on the back porch. And, and now this stuff, is worth something. So it's something to think about.
When do you all leave Detroit? You go back to Chicago?
Later on today. This afternoon, early evening. Got to stop at Cracker Barrel because, my father loves that. Yes, y'all.
Yeah.
He wants some chicken and dumplings from Cracker Barrel.
I'm staying over to see him. I told Shelley, so I hope Shelley stays up there that weekend as well.
Oh yeah, look, Shelley he was planning to be here for 3 days, and bless his heart, he doesn't have the right clothes. But Shelley's sharp. But we'll have to get Shelley another coat.
Yeah.
I'm like, babe, it's really cold.
Well, I know they have orientation for new members, so I head to DC Wednesday for some meetings, and I'll see Jonathan while I'm up there.
I was gonna say call him, because it started for him yesterday. Yeah.
It started yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. But call him. I know he. Well, I'm sure you've spoken with him. I don't need to tell you that, but please reach out to him. I know it'll mean a lot. Hey everybody, how you doing? And Attorney Fancher, how are you?
I'm doing just fine, thank you. Good morning.
I always have to do a lot of housekeeping with Commissioner Ellis because he's family. So, got to do that. But
that sounded like important business.
Well, yeah.
Your voice.
And then, what's it? Reverend Dr. Todd Urey, Esquire. Okay? Attorney Patillo. Hey, y'all. Stand by. Coming in. Oh, boy. It's so cold. It is so cold. I am not ready for this, I can tell you that. I'm going to pull out my stuff.
Don't worry, it won't last long. For climate change, it won't last long.
Well, you know what? That's fine by me. Because, I love the winter clothes. I just don't like the winter cold. This is too much. I'm keeping it 100 with you, okay? I'm just telling you, I don't like it. But I love all my winter clothes because I love it. I love it. And I'm ready for the winter. Ready.
Well, you all at the Renaissance, at least you can stay in, right? Get that Renaissance Tower, at least you can stay in and do most of what you need.
You know what? We are over at the Motor City. We haven't been here in like years, because I'm accustomed to us being at the MGM. And their protocols are very different. They only clean the rooms every 3 days, which is like, what? It's like really a lot. I feel like I'm in a youth hostel, not a hotel. And I've never stayed in a youth hostel before. I'm like, what is this? What? You all don't come. I came into my room and, I always straighten up because I don't have anyone come into my room and come into a messy room. I don't believe in that. But I was like, wait. They said, no, we only clean every 3 days. I was like, what?
Hey, that's what the protocol is. They can't find their help. That's what that is.
Yeah.
I don't think it has anything to do with COVID.
30 seconds.
Breaks my heart because this gentleman who came to remove some things from here, he was so profusely apologetic. And I just said, no, I just tried to give him a really nice tip. I was like, sir, you don't have anything to apologize for at all. Because, he's doing the best he can. We're coming up. Stand by, everybody. Whew.
Stand by.
Thank you, Jim. My gem. That's good.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, talking about the midterms. Boy, these are the gifts that just keep on giving. What's going to happen? Who's going to control the House? And how will the politics play out if the Republicans eke out a win and become the majority? They would only be the majority by a few votes. Will Democrats be able to find Republicans to caucus with them and change the game, as Sinema and Manchin were able to change the game against Democrats in the U.S. Senate? I mean, what's going to happen here? This is really exciting stuff, and we're watching politics play out. It's power, everybody. It's power, it's power, it's power. The question is, are you going to be helped? I guess that's the ultimate question. What are you going to get out of this? You need to be asking that question. Don't just look at the personalities, look at the politics, look at the principles. Find out if you're going to be able to have a healthcare system that will not allow you to go bankrupt. Will you be able to go to the emergency room? Will you be able to afford Thanksgiving next year? 1 out of 4 Americans cannot afford that this year. There's a lot that's at stake for you, and we have to push. How much money are we going to put into wars? Not just Ukraine, but every place. Can we afford to pay for these wars and not pay Americans to survive, to get above water? Got a lot to talk about today. We're talking with Commissioner Rodney Ellis from Texas Harris County and Attorney Mark Fancher, joining Attorney Robert Patillo and Daryl Jones and Reverend Todd Urey Esquire. Going to get their thoughts about this election cycle, as it seems that Mr. Trump is going to announce tonight that he is running for president again. In Chicago, a high of 40 degrees, rain and snow. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 33 degrees snow on November 15th, 2022. WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio. In the NFL, the Commanders, they were commanding over the Eagles, 32-21. In the NBA, the Timberwolves and the Bulls are off tonight. They'll be back on tomorrow night. In the NHL, the Wild will be playing the Predators, and the Hurricanes shut out Chicago 3-0. All right, everybody, what's going to happen at Mar-a-Lago tonight? Well, that's one of the headlines. President Trump will make a primetime announcement. Most people expect him to announce a run for the presidency. What will be happening at the G20 summit? President Zelensky of Ukraine has already outlined a 10-point peace plan. And now we're talking about the midterms. The midterms. What happened in the midterms? Did this bury Trump or not? Before we get into that, I want you to go to Team Hochberg, everybody. Team Hochberg, so that you can get financial freedom. Do you need a loan? Do you need an FHA loan, a VA loan? Do you use your credit card, or do you use a debit card? If you're using a debit card, that's not a good thing to do. We need you to get a credit card. You say you don't have the credit for that? Call Team Hochberg so you can come up with a plan to get off that debit card and get you a credit card. What about reverse mortgages? Do you know what they are? Because they work for you? Think about that. What about credit card debt? Don't you dare negotiate with these credit card companies. That will not work for you. Tom and Sonia understood that. They had 17 credit cards, $100,000 worth of debt on those cards, and they were struggling to pay their mortgage. But they did something really smart. They called Team Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID. 855-56-DAVID, and then they went on the website, 56-DAVID, just for further confirmation. And they got a free consultation when they called into 855-56-DAVID. And guess what? Team Hochberg negotiated with the credit card companies, lowered their payments by $2,800 plus, and saved their home. They were able to secure a VA loan for them. That could be you. So many of us are living in debt, living on our credit cards if we can, just living from what do they say, payday to Monday. That doesn't have to be you. Please call Team Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or 56david.com and get on the road to financial freedom. Everybody, let's get right to it. What about Trump and the midterms? Did that take him under? What is he going to say tonight? How is he going to frame what many people feel will be his presidential announcement? Joining attorney Robert Patillo and attorney Darrell Jones and Reverend Dr. Todd Deary Esquire, of course, we have Mark Fancher, who's always able to join us in the 7 o'clock hours Central Standard Time. And starting with you, because you saw this on the ground electorally, Texas Harris County Commissioner down there in Texas. What, Commissioner Rodney Ellis, what do you see? You've got so much political experience as a political operative, but as an elected official. Has Trump been buried or not?
Well, of course, he has not been buried. I mean, it'd be nice if he's going to announce tonight that he's going to buy a hotel and move to Russia, but that won't happen. Look, he made, his party may have lost in the midterms, but I think that's part of why he feels he has to announce. He's going to do it anyway, but he has announced so he can remain relevant. And he'll be a force in the Republican Party to be reckoned with. Hey, look, these elections indicate that it is a very divided nation. You know, we didn't know that already. And there's a far-right element in his party he controls, and all the pundits are saying more people are in the race than patrons. You know, if there's a whole lineup, he will clearly do well. More people on the Republican side, the more that it helps him. So I just think we have to hope that people are going to be candid when people are polling them. So with a divided Congress, if the polls indicate something, that's what's happening now. I mean, we are running a government so much based on polling data instead of values or principles. And as we know, many times the polling data is wrong. Look, I went to bed very nervous, thinking in my county, which is almost the size of Cook County, Chicago, look, I thought I'd be by myself again. You know, I was already preparing my speech. I was thinking through my lines, Santita, I was going to say, I know what it means to work in a bipartisan government. You know, I know what it means to work in a society where many people are biracial. Now I know what it means to work by myself. But it just turned out that way. Look, they were whipping us so bad based on the polling data. I kept working. I was like Beto. You know, all the polling data said he was down and out, but he kept working. I kept working. Rep Jackson taught us that. But I must admit, if I had to bet, if I was going to do like this furniture guy down there to put all this money up against us on AS Mattress Mac, as they call it, you know, backing all the right-wing Republicans, if I had to bet on who would win the World Series the way he did, all I'm glad the Astros won, just saying, to your fans in Philadelphia. But I'd have put my $25 million up, and I would have assumed I may be broke the next day. But so look, I hope people are candid with the polling data, and I hope that moves. I hope it polls those issues that I believe in somewhat favorably, and I hope that pushes that slim majority of Republicans that will control the Congress to work for the good of the country. There was a time when people did that, but now oftentimes, you know, they burn the house down. In my years in the Texas Senate, I was in the minority most of those years. I wanted my side to win, but at the end of the day, I didn't want the darn state to just blow up. You know, I compromised to make it work. I fight for what I wanted, but then take as much as I could get. I compromise. And I hope that happens to Congress. They'll push it to the brink on the debt ceiling. That'll be the first big one that'll come up, and they'll have some fun. And, you know, they'll ask for some nutty stuff. And I'm hoping that they give them a little nutty stuff, but it doesn't wreck the place. But with the Democrats, you can't just give up so much that you just can't live with it. Then you decide, we'll shut it down and see what that does to them.
What do you think, everybody? What do you think is going to happen tonight? Mark Fancher. I mean, Commissioner Ellis makes a point. we can see from these razor thin margins, in the House and at least on the federal level, because Republicans still have the lion's share of the state space legislatively. What do you make of this midterm season? The corporate media have been saying that President Trump is done. He's finished. What do you think?
Well, I think that we are in a very dangerous period, and I think that one of the worst things that we can do is to lapse into what I think happens very often regarding electoral politics, or treating it in much the same way as pundits treat sports. That it's really sort of a spectator event. We're looking at who's up, who's down, trying to decide who's got the strength here, who's got the strength there. So this is, some big game, and that everybody's going to play by the rules, and that in the end, somebody might win, somebody might lose, and we all go home. I think we're in a period where some of us may not go home. The stakes are much higher than who controls the Senate, who controls the House, or any of the electoral results in the midterms. We're dealing with a phenomenon, a social phenomenon in this country right now. We have a large mass of white workers who are totally confused, totally misled and manipulated, totally frustrated, and very, very, very angry. And they are not going to be contained by any force at this point, not even their purported leader, Donald Trump. They are something to be reckoned with and something to be concerned about. And if we doubt that, all we have to do is look at history. In 1919, during the summer, they call it the Red Summer, because at that point, white workers were extremely frustrated. They were very panicked and they were very angry. And what triggered a manifestation of their anger in very destructive and deadly ways was the return and demobilization of U.S. troops after World War I. And, the belief that black workers were going to compete with white workers for economic opportunity and jobs. And these people went on a rampage through the streets of several cities, burning and killing. And we're not that far away from that. And those kinds of concerns are greater to me, because what we're looking at with respect to Trump specifically is a man who the Republican leadership may be done with. They may have decided that he's no longer useful and they no longer want him. But there are lots and lots and lots, millions and millions of white workers who still regard him as their leader, and who, if he is disrespected in their eyes, could, unleashed and uncontrolled, begin to act out that anger in much the same way that they acted it out on January 6th, in much the same way that they went after Mr. Pelosi, in all of these ways that they demonstrated their propensity to violence. And the irony of all of this is that the Democratic Party itself is not ready to be done with Trump. They love this man because he makes such a good target for them. There's such political advantage to having such a buffoon as somebody that's there, and so they'll never say it, but they want this man to stick around.
Well, hold that thought, because I think also when you say that, anything that the Democrats offer up, even if it's to the right of what it is that progressives want, we'll take it, because at least it's not Trump, right?
Right. and that all of that's very dangerous for us. And so my primary point is that we need to be more, especially communities of color, we need to be more concerned about our survival and an alternate pathway to some form of independence, economic, social, and political, and ultimately liberation. Then we need to be concerned about these electoral races. Yeah, we need to pay attention to them and do what we have to do dutifully to participate and play a role. But that does not offer a panacea for our problems. Simply winning elections is not going to address the very real threats that we face in this country, from angry mobs and from economic insecurity and all of the other problems that go with the catastrophe that is unfolding because of the collapse of an empire. The U.S. empire continues to fall. Its days are numbered, and for those of us who believe that somehow it's going to resurrect itself, that somehow we're going to be able to hitch ourselves to that empire and climb with it, we're sadly mistaken and self-delusional. It's going. We need to figure out an alternate way.
Commissioner Ellis, I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, the fact is, it seems like everything's being reordered. I remember reading a story last year, a report actually that came out of McKinsey, the great consulting firm, very, very exclusive, one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world. And their study showed that China is the richest country in the world. I mean, they have gone from $7 trillion of worth to more than $120 trillion worth, while America's at $90 trillion of worth. And it seems that we're not talking about the bigger questions here. It's all become so personal. And even when I look at the Democratic wins, I've heard them say on a couple of morning shows, we've returned to normal. And Commissioner Ellis, is normal 1 out of 4 Americans not having Thanksgiving next week because they can't afford it? Is normal really supposed to be, I can't afford to go to the emergency room? Is normal really supposed to be, fewer and fewer public schools are equipped to teach my children and fewer of them are open? Is that what we're fighting for, Commissioner Ellis?
Well, first I want to make the point that so much of the success that we have as individuals in our lives comes from government, whether we like it or not. That's just the nature of it. And we saw that during the pandemic become even clearer. We as Americans still have the highest standard of living in total as a group than any other group of people on the face of the earth. And even if at some point China's growth makes it a more substantial player than us, I doubt that that's going to happen in our lifetime, but if it does, they don't have the freedoms that we have. And so, I mean, government, it does matter. And look, here's the real challenge for us as Americans, as people in the West. Will we always be deemed to have a better standard of living than everybody else in the world? I mean, no matter how bad things are over here, it's still better than they are
any place else.
And the almost places on earth. Now we're more interconnected. I mean, we can't just do stuff. I mean, we got to have those chips that come from Africa for our phones to work. But so like with Britain, I remember the first time I went to Europe, I studied on their grad school for a minute, and they had this film, and this line came on, said the problem with most people in Britain is they don't realize it's no longer great. Yeah, so at one point, that little island controlled such vast resources through such horrendous means. Everybody was watching The Crown and, crying when the Queen passed away. Who use that quote, the sun never sets on the British Empire, not think of what awful things they did to do that. But look, I mean, for politics, most things are so personal. People that I talk to, at the end of the day, even when I advocate for minority women-owned businesses, which I've done a lot of throughout my career, I tell them all the time, most of you all are not for what they call it MWBE, minority women-owned business. They for MMWBE, my minority women-owned business. But that's, people do take it very personal. I mean, on so many issues, I was reading late last night the article you sent, I think, about student loan debt. And I saw that piece where here's what that federal judge in Texas in particular has done. By striking down Biden's plan, which is monumental to relieve people of college debt, then the only alternative he has is to just leave the suspension of having to pay debt in place. And that means everybody's children, including those of us on this show right now, who are better off than most. That means that our folks don't have to pay the student debt either. Biden's plan was going to be targeted with equity. You can't afford to relieve it for everybody, so relieve it for the poorest. But there's some people who'll be crying. Well, fine. I'm Bill Gates' grandchild, and I don't have to pay my debt either. So I just want to make make sure I make the point.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how bad things are, we still, on the whole, have a higher standard of living on the whole than any other people on the face of Earth. And what makes us so special that we're entitled to always have that? Together. So when you talk about issues like climate change, no matter how awful it sounds, we got to help developing nations who didn't benefit from the Industrial Revolution. We got to where we are and can be concerned about the environment because we polluted everything else. And then once you get enough wealth, you focus on issues like why it matters to clean the planet. And so you got to help people who didn't benefit from that, who still have to use that dirty coal because they prefer dirty coal than have no lights on. And then we angry because the light bill's too high.
You know what, everybody, think about that. There's one of my favorite shows on HGTV. It's House Hunters, particularly House Hunters International, especially when they get an American or an American couple looking for a place to live. And they're like, wait a minute. You mean I've got to pay thousands of dollars for this? No. And that's why we have to continue to fight to make America what America is really supposed to be. Because it really can be great. It really can be. But we're the ones who have to make it so. It was always a right-wing nation. But if we decide to move it in another direction, the other direction is the way in which America will proceed. I'm going to get about 15, 20 seconds from everybody before we go. I've got John Nichols at the bottom of the hour. Attorney Jones, 20 seconds for you.
You're absolutely right. Let me tell you, we've got to be concerned with the direction the country is going in. We've got to get out there and vote. We certainly have the representatives that we want to face. Don't stop there. We vote for.
Absolutely. Reverend Dr. Yuri.
I'm getting my popcorn. I'm running to get union wine before it pops out. And I'll be watching to see how Mitch looks tomorrow after he hears the announcements.
And I'll get you back on tomorrow to get your review. So just go on and put me in your calendar because that's what we're going to have to find out. And Attorney Patillo.
Well, I'm up here with Todd in Baltimore, so Maryland just legalized weed, so I might drop by that dispensary also to watch this thing tonight. I think America is in for a show of nothing else. It's going to be, as you thought 2022 was exciting, the 2024 is literally starting Thanksgiving 2022. So the fight is on. We have to be ready, have to be prepared, have to be ready for the fight.
I love it. Attorney Fancher, 20 seconds for you.
Yeah, the British Empire fell. The United States is next. And the reason that it's next is because we have a higher quality of living than anybody else. And it's no happenstance. It's because we made it that way. And lots of people around the world are angry. They're angry at global capitalism and imperialism. And will be destroyed. And the U.S. will be a casualty of it. Our question for those of us who are oppressed is where do we stand in that final showdown?
Commissioner Ellis, the last 20 seconds belong to you. Oh, well, you know what? No, hold on. I'm going to hold you to the other side so you can make your closing thoughts. I'm up against a hard break. Tomorrow morning, we got to talk. We got to review what happened with President Trump. Look, this is something we got to look at, everybody. You don't have to like it, but you need to witness it. More of the Santita Jackson Show. John Nichols coming up next, and closing thoughts from Rodney Ellis in just a minute. Oh, you guys, I love you. Commissioner Ellis, I'm going to give you, well, of course, a minute on the other side of the break. Okay?
Okay.
Ooh, this is too much. Look, this is too much.
I'll take my minute on the other side. She got me up, so I'll be ready for a full day.
Well, let me know if you can do anything tomorrow, because I hope we get back to Chicago in time so I can see this thing in real time. But I think we might have maybe a TV in the car or something. We're going to drive back to Chicago. So, because I want to see this for myself.
I'm flying to D.C. tomorrow, so I won't get out. I'll be trying to pack some winter clothes to get out of Houston tomorrow.
Ooh, God bless you. How long are you going to be in D.C.?
I'll be there until Friday, and then Alicia and a couple of our daughters will be in New York, so I'm going to go to New York. I told you I invested in a play up there. I won't underdog.
Wait a minute.
One Chase got me to put my money in it.
Okay, I'm going to be up there, I think, Thursday. I think I'll be there Thursday and Friday.
Thursday, New York.
Yeah. That's how I think I'm going to come up there. They're doing something for Miss Flack. You know, they announced that she has ALS. She's had it for some time.
Okay.
But they're.
Well, if you stay over the weekend, let me know. I might try to do a matinee with you. I'm not sure which hotel which you will put us in. You have one daughter who's living in New York, and our youngest is a sophomore at Syracuse.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I didn't go to parents' weekend. I was campaigning for my friends. I was trying to avoid myself.
Well, I can tell you what I'm going to do. I'm coming in for this, for what they're doing for Miss Flack. A documentary on her life is going to be debuted at the New York Film Festival, and it'll be on PBS next year. And so I'm coming in for that.
But she'll be there over the weekend. Just stay over the weekend.
I wish I could. You know, I'm going to see if I can stay until Saturday. So let me see what I can do.
Okay.
I'll certainly, I'm going to look into that because I'm going to be out. I'll be there on Thursday for that. And Friday. And
so I'm going to DC. Eddie Bernice Johnson will be the first African-American woman to have a portrait hung in a committee room. You know, she's chair of science and technology. They don't hang your picture up until you are leaving.
Okay.
So she finishes her term January 1st. So they hang her portrait up there. That's why I'm going to DC.
She's done January 1st? She's coming out?
And I'm going to send you a great ad. She backed the young sister who won her seat, which is great. 86 years old, passed the torch over to State Representative Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah, Jasmine. Okay, you know what? I need to reach out to her. That's right. I can. You know what? I think once Jonathan started running, that was it for me. Oh.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be a new dynamic with some of these new conservative African Americans and Hispanics that are going to Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Republican minorities.
Oh, you know if that's going to be interesting?
Clarence Thomas.
Oh, absolutely. And it's going to be interesting because you will have Maxwell Frost and you've got Jonathan, you've got some, and Summer Lee. You got some real progressives who are not playing either. So it's a fight. It is on and cracking. You know that.
Miss Jackson, we have about 30 seconds till we go live, and I have John Nichols up.
Wonderful. John Nichols?
Yes, indeed.
It's wonderful. I've got Commissioner Rodney Ellis with us.
John, I won't be on long because I got to shave up and go and try to look intelligent today. Yeah, I got to gray.
No, you don't. Get out of here. You just stay as handsome as you are. I don't want you to look crazy.
We're going live.
With hair that's the wrong color. Please don't do that.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. We've been talking about, now Citizen Trump again, former President Trump. He is going to announce tonight that he's running for president again. So the 2024 cycle will begin tonight. It's already started, but we haven't even finished with the 2022 midterms. Of course, we have got December 6th. We're waiting to see what's going to happen with the Raphael Warnock Herschel Walker contest, and then what's going to happen with the House. How will those politics play out? I'm going to ask all those questions of course, John Nichols from The Nation magazine, who's with us. But I wanted to get Texas Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis, who was really the most powerful man in the Senate, in the Texas State Senate for so long. And then he decided to become a commissioner where you, quite frankly, wield even more power. I've learned so much about politics from him, and I always do. And indeed, I thank God for him for being a mentor and a dear friend for Phil. He's really family. But I'm so glad that Jonathan has a mentor and fellow bike rider in you. So talk to me. What are we looking at tonight? What are we looking at with Trump? You said, no, he's not gone anywhere. He's not going anywhere, but we must go somewhere. Texas Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis?
I'm looking forward to President Trump's announcement tonight. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm glad he's running. I wish him well. I want him to run his party into the ground. That's a good thing. I think it helps. Look. I will say, when he ran for president before, I never dreamed he'd end up in the White House. So you have to be careful.
Me either.
My mother used to say the same thing that will make you laugh, will make you cry. But look, it'll be interesting. I was going to tell Todd Year and the folks in Baltimore, since they just legalized marijuana, don't invite Trump over there, because he gets a little whiff of that, he might chill out. No, we want him to run. The House will be total chaos for 2 years. It'll be a hot mess. But I think in the presidential cycle, there is hope. I just think about our few friends in California and New York, in some ways because of their so-called independent redistricting committee. We could have kept the House. There were seats that we lost, we should not have lost as Democrats. And there were seats that we won, we never dreamed of winning, because we believe what the pundits are saying. But look, you have a great show with your guest, Mr. Nichols. I enjoy following his career. He does a great job. Hey, let me go do a little story on Nicole Ellis with the PBS News. I was just saying, that's my oldest child, and I'm proud to have one in the media. Following your footsteps. Santita.
Oh, so proud of that girl. So proud of that baby. I can't believe it.
I hope you hang over Saturday, and I'll take you to play.
Oh, look,
All
I
right.
can't look. I'm gonna look. I'm looking into it. I'm looking.
Let me know. So I'll get you a ticket.
Absolutely,
All right.
absolutely.
All right, sir.
John Nichols is sending you much love, Texas Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis. John Nichols. Wow. I don't even know where to begin. You pulled a whistle out of me, and I don't really know how to do that. We have been up all night long finding out about Kari Lake and the gubernatorial race in Arizona. I mean, everything is razor thin. It's tighter than this, all one word. And now we're looking at the House. And what's interesting about the House to me, and I need you to explain this to me, because I could, I want to know, will the House play out? Will that business play out the way business played out in the Senate over the past couple of years? Will Marjorie Taylor Greene yank the Republican Party further to the right the way Manchin and Sinema did? I mean, will they hold that kind of sway? Will McCarthy even get it? I mean, because now they're chatting up Steve Scalise, who of course survived that awful shooting several years ago, but he also has great relationships with people all over the body of the U.S. House of Representatives. I mean, even Democrats like him. I mean, what are we looking at with the politics of the House? Because we're still trying to find out what's going to happen. First of all, is there a path for the Democrats to emerge as the majority? And if not, where do we go from there?
Well, thanks for having me on, Santita. And you put a lot on the table there,
Yes,
as always.
because you are capable of answering all of these issues.
Anything's there. Look, at some fundamental level, I think what we need to understand is that the results in the House are almost completely unexpected. If we had been talking a week ago this morning, and I had told you that there was even the slightest chance that Democrats would hold the House, I think you would have said, well, maybe you stayed up too late. Maybe you're a little bit busy now. But in fact, there is an outside chance at this point that Democrats could hold the House. I don't think it will happen. I think it's probably maybe a 20% chance. So the odds are against them. But there are still a number of races that are undecided, mostly on the West Coast. There are also several that will go to recount. And those recounts, as we know, if it's a very close race, can sometimes produce a different result than we initially thought. So what we've got is a situation where Democrats are at least viable. Now, if the Republicans take the House, and that's, again, the more likely scenario, they won't do it by much. I ran through the competitive races last night, and I came to the number of about 222. You have to have 218 to hold it. I think
the Republicans could get into the range of 221, 222. But they would hold the House with an advantage of about, 3 or 4 seats. That is a terrible position to be in. When you have a very narrow majority and a very weak leader, and Kevin McCarthy is one of the weakest leaders in congressional history, you end up in a situation where there's chaos. And I can tell you right now that, yes, there's the possibility of some grumbling about McCarthy as leader. I rather doubt they'll depose him, but you'll clearly see that there's people that want to get rid of him. Again, he's not very good. He's not good at politics. He's not particularly good at policy. And so there'll be a desire to push him aside, but he'll probably stay in. And the reason he will stay in is not because he's strong. It's because he's weak. And the different factions within the Republican caucus are going to think they can play it. And I expect they probably will. What's going to happen is that the extreme right-wingers, the noisy right-wingers, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, a handful of others, they will pressure McCarthy to do things that 75, 80% of Americans don't want, but that they want. And it will be very much for the party base. That will be investigations of Biden, investigations of the Democrats, all sorts of, pointless, but for them, gleeful efforts to attack the other side. There will be, I expect, very little in the way of real policy coming from the House. And even when there are policy debates, there'll be division. And the Democrats, what that means is that they've got room to maneuver here. The House and the Senate will have to negotiate. That's going to be really difficult. But there are places where, theoretically, the Democrats might be able to pull over 4 or 5 relatively more moderate conservative Republicans and actually defeat Republican initiatives. I think that could happen on a number of areas like labor rights, maybe even abortion rights. So it's going to be a chaotic, crazy House. And at the end of the day, what it is likely to do is create a sense on the part of a lot of Americans that they don't want this. And in fact, I think it will probably be to the good for Joe Biden and the Democrats. Instead of being harmed by narrowly losing the House, they end up in a situation where, because of the chaos on the Republican side, they could theoretically come out of that.
Well, what does chaos on the Republican side look like? And what could a win look like on the Democratic side, even with a Republican majority, raise or thin? Are there some Republicans who could be picked off, who could vote, who could caucus with Democrats on not just Trump, right, and January 6th, but on some other issues? Do those kinds of Republicans, or do those politics still exist on the Hill?
A little bit. Is there room for some coalition building? Yes, because I look at a couple of votes that occurred last year, or in the last year or so, on issues that don't always get the headlines, but are real important measures. One is the PRO Act. That's the effort to protect the right to organize. It's a pro-labor, pro-union initiative, and it passed the House quite easily because it got all the votes of Democrats and it got the votes of a number of Republicans. And something like that, there's a place where you see Republicans who I think you can fairly say are, at least pro-worker, not necessarily militantly pro-worker, not where you would want them to be, but sympathetic enough that you could get some votes there. I think you also see there are still a handful, it's very small, handful of Republicans who err toward a more moderate stance on reproductive rights. Mm-hmm. And there's actually a decent number who accept the reality of climate change. Now, not all of these are small groups. They're tiny. 5, 6, 7, 8 moderates. They're not even moderates. They're really very conservative. They at least nod in a more moderate direction. Those are people that the Democrats need to nurture, right, and work with. And I have to tell you, if the House comes down to an even narrower Republican majority, perhaps 1 seat or 2 seats, you even have the possibility of Democrats saying to some of these Republicans, maybe you should switch parties. happen. But that exists there still. And in the Senate, it's going to be very, very interesting because Democrats are not going to have a majority in the Senate. Probably a wider majority. Maybe, Raphael Warnock take them up to 51 seats. And what that means is that they'll now be in a position where if they can get, Lisa Murkowski or Susan Collins on something, then they can even lose Manchin and Sinema and still pass a piece of legislation. Mm-hmm. And so there's some real possibilities here that didn't exist before. And it is not a perfect moment. Democrats losing the House is not good to the Democrats. They would rather control it. But it is a moment that's dramatically better and open with dramatically more possibilities than what they thought just, again, a week ago.
Well, we're talking with John Nichols from the Nation magazine, national correspondent, about the House. We're still in the midst, we're still counting the votes. We're still trying to find out who is going to be, who's going to run the House, who's going to be in the majority. Will it be the Democrats? Will it be the Republicans? While there is a very, very, very narrow path for the Democrats to be in the majority, the fact is all will not be lost if they are not. This is where you see the politics of really the art of politics, which is compromise. You don't want to compromise your principles away, but you do want to get things done. You just heard Commissioner Rodney Ellis talk about that, getting things done. Didn't always get what I wanted, but I got things done. I got what I needed for my people. And I guess that is really the key. But what about that, everybody? I want you to call us. I want to hear from you, John Nichols, because I still think it needs to really get into my brain that, what will happen if the Democrats are not in the majority? What does Nancy Pelosi do? Does she retire? And with that kind of institutional wisdom and knowledge, how does one go past her? Because she did say in an interview that the attack upon her husband has influenced what her decision about what she will do next will be. Where do we go from here? Because you see a lot of young people in the House of Representatives who are becoming restless on the right and the left. They want their shot at leadership. What do you think is going? What could happen realistically?
Well, there's constant talk about Nancy Pelosi stepping down and ending her tenure as Speaker of the House. And obviously, if the Republicans take charge, she would no longer be Speaker. She could, in that situation, be the minority leader. But there's a lot of talk that she will stand down as minority leader and create an opening for someone else to take that position, obviously a younger leader. And it is going to be a tough and complicated decision for Pelosi because if the House is very closely divided, she is one of the most skilled legislative leaders in the history of the country. And everyone accepts that. Even the Republicans who despise her accept that she's very, very good at keeping her caucus together. If it's a delicate, difficult maneuvering situation, there's an outside chance she stays on because she thinks this is just too tough a moment. We have to manage things in a way that assures that Democrats get their best results out of it. I can even imagine that President Biden might prefer that she stay because she, again, is very good at this. But if she stands down, which I think is the slightly more likely reality, then the likelihood is that Hakeem Jeffries from New York comes in. He's in position to do this. He's got a lot of support. He would be obviously the first black minority leader in the House. Not the first black in leadership. You've got Jim Clyburn and others in very high leadership positions. But Jeffries is a skilled politician coming out of New York City, and he is, I think, prepared to take that on. The bigger challenge is who would be in the second and third positions in the minority caucus if that is the case. And I think that there'll be some maneuvering there. The progressives are much stronger than they were. That's one of the interesting realities here. The Democrats had some setbacks. Progressives have expanded their caucus. Just on Sunday, they introduced about 10 new members of the Progressive Caucus, including Jasmine Crockett, who you mentioned, Summer Lee, Maxwell Frost, Elliot Arderas, Jonathan Jackson, who you well know, and a number of others. And so what we're looking at is a situation where the progressives have a lot of strength, and they're, I think, going to demand some stronger voice in leadership, arguing that the party needs to adopt some of their positions. And so you're going to see some maneuvering going on there. And Congress is going to get interesting in a way. It's been interesting the last 2 years, to be sure, but in a way that it may not have been, quite so contentious as before. And for the Democrats, this is a great challenge, but also a great opportunity, I think, especially for progressive Democrats. It's a place where they can really shine in standing up to the Republicans and exposing the absurdity of Republican positions, calling them out, working on the facts rather than fancy. And all of this, obviously, Santita points toward 2024. And this is, unfortunately, when you divide Congress, it's all about 2024. And so what Donald Trump is doing tonight isn't separate from what's going on with Congress. It's actually part and parcel of an overall political moment that is probably as charged and contentious as any we've seen in a long time.
Well, we're talking with John Nichols, a national correspondent for The Nation, about the House of Representatives. We're still awaiting what the results will be. Will the Democrats eke out a majority, or will the Republicans, as is expected, will they get a majority? But they're not going to get the numbers, according to all reports, that they had expected to get. By not getting these numbers, by not having this sizable margin of Republicans in the Republican caucus in the House of Representatives, how does that change their politics, John?
Oh, the Republicans are in a very difficult position because obviously if they had a 20 or 30 seat majority, they would have had much more flexibility. They could marginalize some of their more extreme members and move on a somewhat more policy-oriented path. But when it's this narrow, they can't afford to have any sorts of divisions or people who go off the page. And so as a result, the extreme right is going to have a lot of influence on where this caucus goes. And they're going to demand investigations. I think that the primary thing that you're going to hear a lot about Hunter Biden over the next, 2 years, and it'll be absurd. It'll be like the Hillary Clinton investigations that they did, back in 2014, 15, 16, and even before that. And not much will come of it, I don't think. Look, Hunter Biden is a troubled young man who's had a lot of hard things happen to him, and a lot of that may be drained out. But at the end of the day, I think more likely what it is just a good deal of bad political theater. I think very little gets done. They can't do much on their agenda, except in one area, and this is a big deal. They do have the power of the purse. And so if the Republicans can remain united, this is a big issue. No guarantee that they can. There's a handful of Republicans that might not go with them. If they can remain united, they have the ability to put forward budgets that don't provide funding for key programs, and then to, in reconciliation, force the budget process to the right. And that will make it hard for President Biden to deliver on things that he's promised that he wants to do. It will also make it hard for the Senate to, advance a more progressive agenda. So on that key issue, that's the one we shall keep our eye on, because it's on the policy where poor and working class people lose the support and the funds that they need. The Republicans could do some serious damage.
We're talking with John Nichols from The Nation magazine, national correspondent, about just about everything. Because let me just ask you, have you been surprised by the results of the midterms? I mean, the results that we've seen thus far. Because last week we were all afeared, if you will, of a Republican landslide, and it just didn't manifest. Why do you think that it did not manifest?
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons it didn't manifest, and I think actually, intriguingly enough, your show, the people who listen to it, and also the people who appear on it, can explain why it didn't manifest. We talked a lot about what was wrong with the Republican agenda, how damaging and dangerous that agenda was on issues of everything from inflation, which they talked a lot about, but they didn't have answers to their racist and xenophobic attacks on Democratic candidates, to their
a neo-fascist approach to democracy itself. There are threats to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. I mean, you just run down the list, and then you get also to abortion rights, which became such a central issue. So I think the reason they didn't do so well is that all of that added up, and there were an awful lot of Americans who were frightened by the prospect of Republicans coming to power. They may not have been totally happy with Joe Biden and the Democrats, but they clearly didn't want the Republicans in charge. And so what you saw was a massive turnout of young people. And this is an important thing to understand. Voters under 30 really did transform our politics this year. They had a 28% Democratic advantage. I want to emphasize that. Among voters under 30, Democrats had a 28% advantage. That's not quite the advantage they have in the black community. It's not quite the advantage they have in some other communities, but it's getting very close to it. And what that means is that you've added a new block of voters to that core base of black voters and others who have historically been loyal to the Democratic Party. Now, I think we can honestly say that young voters are part of that Democratic coalition, and it had a huge impact in states across the country. It clearly tipped a lot of these congressional races to the Democrats. That's why there's a lot of young Democrats coming into Congress, including even Gen Z folks with Maxwell Frost and a few who are just a little bit older than him.
I've got less than a minute. How will these young people, many of whom are Democrats, and then you've got some young people who are Republican and who are very, very, very much to the right. How might they reshape our politics? Because they are, they are the future. 1 minute belongs to you.
Climate, in ways that many older folks don't quite understand, that's going to be a way that they can make real demands. They have legitimate demands for loan relief as regards student loans, but also for free college and free community college and tech schools. And so there are places where they can make demands, and the Democratic Party cannot afford to ignore them anymore. It used to be that the Democratic Party placed a lot of its attention on older folks because older folks were such regular voters. Now the Democratic Party has to extend its vision and to say, yeah, we understand we need these young people, and we're going to look for policy measures that will deliver for them. And clearly, student loan relief and free college, things of that nature, mean a lot to young people.
Everybody remember there was a song that was out, oh boy, when we were very, very young. Michael Jackson sang it. You better make a way for the young folks. You may not like it, but I'm trying to tell you, you better make a way for the young folks. They are the future. They are reshaping our politics, but so are you. You're reshaping our politics. You are the reason we are here. And America is split, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing whenever we debate, whenever we discuss, whenever we begin to really move toward the painful but necessary process of creating a more perfect union. I'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody. Cannot wait to see what's going to happen tonight. Love you. God bless. I love you, John Nichols. I'm going to run out of here because I'm at the automotive summit here at the Rainbow Push Automotive Summit. We're going to be wrapping up today, but I've got to go to a few of these seminars this morning.
Well, that is great. Good luck to you, and I will talk to you soon. It's good talking today, and I think we covered a lot of good territory.
Oh, I think so. I mean, you gave me a lot to think about. A lot to think about.
Well, we're in a big transition period, and it's going to be very interesting to watch all the things that happen over the next few days.
Next few days, few weeks, it just does not stop. Oh my gosh, it does not stop. It doesn't stop. Well, you know what? I think this is great. So I'm looking forward to this, and I'll reach back out to you because I certainly, if you have any time, I do want some feedback on what you see in here tonight. I hope we get home because I really want to watch it at home. I don't want to watch it in a car, but I'll take it, whatever it is that I need to do. So because
let's all work on it. Let's all work on figuring out what else is happening. And I do think certainly bottom line is very simple. The results are much better than we expected. They are. But one of the things that I do question,
because I've just heard the corporate, media pundits, say, America's more moderate, and we want things to return to normal. And I don't want that to be a win for the corporatocracy. I really don't. I hope that this will not be an excuse.
Miss Jackson, would you like me to put the collar on for the Facebook after show? Or
No. Well, I'm not going to do that today, hon. I'm going to have to, and after I finish speaking with him, I'm going to have to go.
Okay, no worries. Great show today.
Thank you, dear. I'm sorry. What were you saying before we go, John?
I'm saying goodbye, and I love you. John, go do good.
I love you too. You do good. God bless you. Sending you much love.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. God bless. Love all of you. Cannot wait to be with you tomorrow. Let me run.